Hello, this is Daniel Brackett with the Full-Time Roundup podcast. Joined next to me is Harrison Clark. Harrison, we are going to try something new today. Me and you have been cooking up this brainchild for the last day or two, and I'm excited to kind of give this a demo and see how the listeners like it.
Yeah, it should be a special one. It's our little baby that we've created here. Get three little sections in, all talking about this coming week. I'm super excited.
Yeah, and I haven't really mentioned this, trying to still get in the swing of things here in terms of the Full-Time Roundup podcast, getting kind of back into the season and everything. But to our listeners, thank you so much for listening. You can follow us on X at Full-Time Roundup. You can follow me at Liverpool CLTFC. You can follow Harrison at H Clark underscore, I think it's 2 or O2, one of the two. You'll find him there.
First one.
And then you can follow Matt at Life of Gesslin. So, give us a follow. I personally, in my personal Twitter account, have been, I try to be fairly active. I need to be better about the Full-Time Roundup, but we still drop and tweet out the podcast episode every time we do it. If you're whatever site you use, go ahead and give us a 5-star rating. That helps us grow as a podcast, and then turn on automatic downloads. That's always nice too. So, but to get all the fun stuff out of the way, Harrison, we have a wonderful weekend of football upon us. Without Champions League in full swing, which I honestly completely forgot it's the new format, which is going to be, we're going to definitely have to do a breakdown of just the new format, explaining it to everyone, because I'm going to have to explain it to myself at this point. But it's been nice because you don't have the Champions League games midweek right now. I mean, you do have qualifiers, but it makes you look forward to the weekend even more. So when Friday hits and you have that 3:00 Eastern time game, it just hits a little bit different. You really want to just close the work laptop down and just kick the feet up on the sofa, and then that on Saturday you're going to wake up with some great games. So we'll go ahead and jump into it, starting with the Premier League. Early on Saturday, I had to wake up early for Liverpool last week, which was kind of a kick in the dick to Liverpool just after Jurgen Klopp kind of bitching about the early kickoffs for his entire tenure at Liverpool. It's somewhat ironic we had that, but it was the first game of the season, so who cares? On the docket at 7:30 Eastern time on Saturday is Manchester United versus Brighton at Amex Stadium. The goals versus the Red Devils. I'm super excited for this game, Harrison. What do you think is going to happen here?
I'm really excited too. I think we didn't exactly know what kind of Brighton team that we were gonna see in that first game against Everton, because frankly they just have a lot of names that many of us don't even know, that they added this offseason. I think the acquisition that made the biggest impact game one was Menta on that right wing. Had a beautiful assist, I believe, on the first goal, I want to say.
It
I
was the
don't really
first goal.
remember. Yeah,
Yep.
first goal. Yeah, he could be a problem on that wing this year. And I mean, again, they have a bunch of players who could also play that position. We've mentioned the Dingra before, who's also played on the wing. But up against a Man U team who, snuck one out against Fulham in the first game, despite being the better team the majority of the game. Xerxes comes on and gets the winner. I'm super excited to see, if Brighton can replicate what they did against Everton. They made Everton look horrible, and maybe that's just because Everton could very well be horrible. But Brighton looked really solid, and this new manager that they got from Germany, he could have something cooking there. So to start your Saturday off with a Brighton Man U game, I guess we'll see how Man U starts to fare on the road, because I feel like in the past couple seasons that's kind of where they struggled. So a big opportunity for the Seagulls at home.
Yeah, I mean, United struggled, period, because they couldn't win home games, and then they
And
were,
just got hurt, but
yeah, And, you mentioned Mente. He's probably not a go for this game just because he was concussed. Um,
That's right.
so we'll
Forgot about
have to
that.
see. We'll have to see if maybe he'll be on the bench. I mean, with concussions, we
They
see
got depth though.
they have depth, and we see NFL players, we've seen soccer players kind of bounce back next week. So he probably will be a game time decision on, if they're going to sit him out or not. But in terms of this game, I don't really have a feel for this because on one end you have a Brighton team that, like you said, played Everton, and everyone's pushing the panic button on Everton. Guys, this is just a vicious cycle that is being an Evertonian fan. They look like shit. They cut it close, and then they turn it on. And this was a team that, without the points deduction, was mid-table last year. So
Right.
although they looked absolutely dreadful in the first game, especially surprising at Goodison, last opening game at Goodison, I do think what they showed is not going to be the product. And, I think Brighton were lucky to have to play a really bad Everton. So I think, although Brighton looked great with their new manager, they're going to have a big test today or tomorrow with Manchester United. Manchester United, though, we'll see if Ten Hag decides to change up the lineup. I hated the starting lineup he had, not starting Garnacho, playing Mason Mount and Bruno Fernandes in the same kind of, like, one was a false nine, one was attacking. I would expect Diallo and Mount dropped, Garnacho and Xerxes to be put in. Now that is a much more dangerous United team that you have. I thought the back line, Mazraoui looked great. So we'll see. We'll see how it goes. Brighton are going to be really pressing United in the build-up phase. So does these new boys and does United have the quality to kind of play out of the back? I thought Casemiro looked better than usual. So we'll kind of have to see, but I think it's going to be a really interesting game because I wasn't able to watch the Brighton game that much last week, but I'm super intrigued by the manager, and I think this is a really big test for him early in his Brighton career. And I'm not, no matter what happens, I'm not going to press the panic button. But if he, makes Ten Hag look bad, then I'm going to be excited to talk about it on Sunday, no doubt. Now, any last comments for this game? Let's get a prediction here in terms of scores.
All right. Like you mentioned, I think that the exclusion of Garnacho from the starting 11 last week hurt United in a way, and it wasn't until his inclusion late in the second half that I felt like their play really started to pick up and they were more dangerous. So I expect to see him in the starting 11 this week. Give me the Seagulls at home, and I'm gonna say 2-1.
I'm gonna go 1-1. I think this should be a fairly open match. We'll see if both teams can put the ball in the back of the net. Welbeck against his former team. We'll see if that's like a nice little edge in terms of wake up, motivation, fuel. It's been a long time since he wore a United shirt, but 1-1, 2-2 is kind of where I'm at. Now going to the other Premier League game I'm looking forward to. Aston Villa, Arsenal, Emery against his old side. I actually wish I pulled up his record against Arsenal because he has been in the Prem for a while now. But this game's a 12:30 kickoff. It's a standalone game, and for good reason. It is at Aston Villa. Arsenal looked really good, I thought, in the opening game, and so did Villa. Villa has some fresh blood, so we'll see if they're able to adapt quickly against one of the best teams, if not the best team in the Premier League. What else do you have for us?
Yeah, this one should be really interesting, and I think it should be fun as well. Both teams obviously can be very exciting going forward, but I think it's more going to be a test if Aston Villa is able to break down that Arsenal back line. Obviously, Saliba and Gabriel have been rock solid over the past year or so. And they're a massive reason why Arsenal has been so close in the title race the last couple seasons. But then again, I mean, Villa looked great on the road against West Ham, and they showed their attacking prowess. Even with a subpar performance from Ollie Watkins, I can definitely, if he is in the starting 11 this week, I expect a bounce back game from him. So I think this one honestly could go either way, especially being the home opener for Aston Villa. That crowd's going to be rocking. So I'm super intrigued by this matchup, and I love how it's in the prime time spot at 12:30. That's perfect.
Let's get a score prediction from you.
Oh, was it them or it was them who shocked them at Arsenal last year, wasn't it?
It was indeed
With the late goal.
So not to get too granular here, I was just looking back to see Unai Emery has won the last 2 games.
He's 3-3-1 managing against Arsenal all the time.
3-3-1. That's not too bad.
No, I'm gonna go 2-2 here.
2-2.
I think it's gonna be a fun one. Yeah, I could see both teams putting the ball in the back of the net.
So with Emery at Aston Villa, it's 2-2. But yeah, like you said, that's correct. But I'm gonna go 1-1 again. I don't really know, but I can't handicap this game, so I'm struggling with this one. I'm just looking forward to watching the 2 great minds of the Premier League, Mikel Arteta,
Fun game.
Emery. Fun game means over. You know how I am. Now in the Bundesliga, we got opening day. I feel like I've been pretty open about this, but I fucking love the Bundesliga. I love turning it on at 9:30 right before Prem kicks off at 10. I just think it's so many goals. There's some really intriguing teams, and this game's on a Friday, which is we actually have a really good slate this Friday. But this is Leverkusen Gladbach, and Leverkusen got to see them against Stuttgart. They were able to draw that game. I believe they lost in penalties, but they had an early red card. So I think they're going to want to bounce back. I picked them to win the league. So in Gladbach are pretty shit in my opinion. They have been for a while. So I think this could be a lot of goals, a lot of like a blowout, I guess, in a way. I'm going to say 4-1 Leverkusen. A lot of insane faces have returned. And I think Xabi very well intends to do the double 2 years in a row before he heads to to Real Madrid in the summer.
Could definitely see it. Yeah, this Gladbach team was bad last year. I could see Leverkusen just going crazy. I'm going to say 3-0 Leverkusen. I think they start the season pretty strong.
Yeah, no, I couldn't agree more. And isn't it? I think it's at Gladbach, which would make even insult to injury there. Let's see here. It's on Friday. Yeah, it's at Gladbach. So Gladbach have won 5 straight games in preseason, but they haven't played anyone either. So we'll have to see. Maybe, there is that, champion slump, but I just don't see it with a coach like Xabi Alonso, and just they haven't really missed anyone. They've only gained good players. So I feel pretty good about them. Going to the other Bundesliga game I'm looking forward to. We have a banger fixture list here. Dortmund, Frankfurt, the standalone game at 12:30. Nuri Sahin at the helm for Dortmund. I can kind of be a Dortmund fan now since that soccer terrorist Terzic is out of here. Couldn't stand him last year. But Dortmund have, like we said in our preseason predictions, have done really well in the transfer market. Have spent more money than I expected. And they got some players. So, but they've also, I talked about Frankfurt. doing a great job in building their squad. Now they're going to trust the youth a little bit more than Dortmund will in this game, just based off signings. But we haven't seen a Sahin team yet. I think he's going to use a different formation than we saw with the 4-3-3. I'm going to guess a 3-5-2 for Dortmund, and I'm super excited to see who he's going to lean on. I think Pascal Gross is going to ball in this game. I hope to see Maxi Bayer start up top, and who's going to step up in absence of Royce? That's the big question for me.
Yeah, it's interesting. They've been playing, it appears, in their preseason matches, they've almost been playing a false nine with Julian Brandt.
But Bayer just came, so I think, and they sold Fulkrug, so I don't know if that'll stay or not.
I guess it's a matter if they get him straight in there or not, because he really hasn't played a ton in preseason, and Guirassi's out till September or so. So
classic Dortmund player, right?
Yeah, seriously. But yeah, at the yellow wall, you can't ask for more on a opening day for the Bundesliga. Dortmund at home, love the tradition there. I expect them to come out firing. I think, like you mentioned, they had an excellent window, so they'll be up for it for sure. And Frankfurt is much improved, like you mentioned. I expect goals.
Yeah.
Feel like Dortmund, especially at home, always score a decent amount, and they've always been a little leaky defensively. So I'm going to say fun game, 3-2. Dortmund.
I'm going to go 2-1 Dortmund. I think it might start out nervy and then kind of open up as the game goes on. It really just depends on who Dortmund kind of employs here in the lineup. So, I mean, it'll be an interesting job for Sahin, but I'm looking forward to it. Just another game just to mention. We won't go over it. Wolfsburg will play Bayern Munich on Sunday at 11:30. So, if you're interested to see how Vincent Kompany is going to be lining up the Bavarians, definitely give that a watch. I'm sure Wolfsburg have been so-so the last couple of years, so they are probably expected to win pretty handily here, and we'll see if it's a walk in the park for Kompany's men or they have some trouble. And I feel like that could really set the tone for how Bayern's going to do this season. To go to La Liga, we have Barcelona, Athletic Bilbao. Bilbao, the Copa del Rey winners, and Barcelona finished second fiddle to Real Madrid, looking to win another title here. Hansi Flick versus Ernesto Valverde. Very intriguing matchup of managers. Athletic didn't look great in their first game. Didn't start the younger Williams, Nico, and their strikers out. So will that hurt them in their chances to beat Barcelona? We'll have to see, Harrison.
Yeah, I mean, still a young back line for Barcelona, so we don't exactly know, I guess.
That too.
But they are extremely talented. A little battle of the Spanish wingers who led them to Euro glory between Lamine Yamal and Nico Williams. Fully expect Nico to start this game. So at least that part is good for Athletic. Like you mentioned, their strikers are going to be out, so I guess that takes a little away from them. A really good opportunity for Barca to maintain their early lead in this season. I mean, I think you try to hold on to a lead as long as you can. And these are kind of these swing games that you get during the year against teams that potentially could be in the top four that will matter at the end of the year, whether it's the second game of the season or the last. So,
yeah,
I mean, I'm going to take Barca at home. Like their squad a little bit more. So I'm going to say 2-1 Barcelona.
I'm going to agree 2-1 Barca here. I think they're a little sloppy, so Athletic Bilbao will have chances, but I think the overall quality of Barcelona will shine here. I liked what you said there. Obviously it's a long season and people don't like to freak out on week 1 and week 2. But for some of these games, we mentioned Arsenal, Villa, this game in you know, Leverkusen or Dortmund. If you want to challenge for the title, you need to win against the guys you're competing to title with, even if it is game 1 or game 2. And so, starting off the season on the right note is just as important to me as finishing on the right note. So we'll have to see kind of how these go. Harrison?
That's part of why, like, Chelsea probably won't be competing for the title this year, but early game against City is obviously just a massive win for City. Like, you get
Yeah.
on the road a team that will be contending for Champions League very likely. Like, to win on the road without your one of your best players in Rodri is just a statement, and also in the end probably important points in the title race. So
Yeah, absolutely. Other just results around the world to take a look at. Let's see if the Milan teams kind of bounce back here in week 2. Both drew, respectively. We both had them 1 and 2, so we'll see if they kind of get back on the right foot. Both have fairly easy games this week, so we'll see. And then Real Madrid, obviously, against Real Valladolid, that might be an absolute bloodbath. I'll be shocked if Real Valladolid give him a game, but we'll have to see. Harrison, you're making a face that makes me feel very uncomfortable in terms of what I just said.
no, I'm kind of nervous for Lecce. They lose 4-0 at home to Atalanta, and then they go on the road at Inter, a
Oh
team
yeah,
who
that
looking for their first win of the year. That one, I got a bad feeling about that one for Lecce.
yeah that might you might would be wanting to look at like some inner
Team
goal
total.
scorers or team totals for that one, or
Make it ugly.
spread. But we'll go ahead and we're gonna introduce a new subject or topic here. Me and Harrison have started to dip into the fantasy game. We're in a league where you have the $100 budget and you make a team from there. I also joined a draft where I drafted a team. So I'm going to be, in the swings of not only fantasy football in the NFL, but fantasy Premier League. And so, we have friends that listen to the pod that play these games. I'm sure some of the listeners as well play it wherever they are. So we're going to just quickly touch on just some must starts and then some sleeper picks that you can choose not only for the season, but this specific week, as we just love the matchups. Harrison, I'm just going with chalk here in terms of must starts, but I think Holland, especially in our league with the budget, you can triple captain someone. And I think this might be the opportunity you want to triple captain Holland against Ipswich. I think this could get ugly. If you don't want to triple captain, you can just captain them. You just get points. I think it's like double or triple, depending on what you choose. I think Holland's going to just give Ipswich that defense a nightmare game. And then obviously Salah is, a pretty good shoe-in. He started off the season on a wonderful note. And Brentford didn't look too hot in their game against Crystal Palace, I believe they played. So I like Salah, obviously, as like a vice captain or a captain, depending on who you have. And then City defenders, any of them who start, it's going to be a clean sheet for them, more than likely. So if you need like a nice win in your defense, I think any City defender, Gvardiol, Stones, or something like that would really help with the clean sheet there. How about you?
Yeah, I like those. Nothing wrong with going with Holland ever, regardless of the team. Honestly, he just bags regardless. So,
Yeah.
I went with Alexander Isak. I think they're playing. Yeah, they're playing Bournemouth on the road. Feels like a good spot for Newcastle, a team I'm super high on, and I'm incredibly high on Isak this year. Didn't get on the board the first game, but part of that is due to the fact that they were on 10 men. So I like him a lot. He's kind of the guy who is front running my team this year. So I'm going to back him. And I'm also backing another striker, Dominic Solanke, at home for Tottenham. Didn't get a ton of amazing chances against Leicester this past week, but at home against a team who seems to potentially be reeling in Everton, feel like this could be a game where he does break out, and I could very well see him batting two. this week, especially with the sort of support he's getting from Son on the wing and the creation of James Madison in the middle. I think Solanke's going to get so many opportunities this year, so I'm going to say he is my other must start this week.
Could not agree more, especially with the matchup. If Everton look anything like they did last week, I mean, fuck, grab any Spurs attacker, and that's why I did for my sleeper pick here. Brennan Johnson. I have in parentheses or any other attacker, James Madison or Son. Brennan Johnson looked really good. I thought in the first game. From what I saw of the highlights of the Brighton Everton game, their trouble that they had came on that right flank. So first it was Minte with the assist, and then Adingra on the right wing scoring the second goal. So Ashley Young's suspended, so they'll probably put Mikalenko out there. Still not convinced he's a Premier League player. So I think Brennan Johnson feeding Solanke or getting on the end of one from a nice James Madison ball could be very likely. My other sleeper I already mentioned in that statement, Adingra. Hopefully Mint is okay, but hopefully he doesn't play this week because I like Adingra. He's on my squad. He was a late round draft pick for me, and he broke out in the Premier League last year, and I think he has big things in store for him. So I think he's a sneaky start this week in terms of their matchup. They do play United, but he seems like when he does play, he's in the mix always.
He is usually in the mix when he does play. My sleeper is Rodrigo Munoz for Fulham, a guy who burst onto the scene second half of last year, took the starting spot from Raul Jimenez, who I feel like that guy just like went invisible. But last week against United, honestly, he didn't have many great opportunities, and I felt like the one guy who was threatening for Fulham most of the game was Adama Traore.
Bro, that was insane watching Adama go. We didn't even talk about that, but I was watching him go against Lissandro. Like, I was having so much fun watching that.
Yeah. Lissandro did body the shit out of him one time, and I was like, what the hell was that? Because every time I just look at Adama Traore, usually my mouth is on the floor. But Munoz, 9 goals last year in 26 games for Fulham is a pretty good record. And what is it? They get Leicester at home for their second game of the season. Leicester, especially the first half of last game against Tottenham, I still don't know how that game was only 1-0 at halftime with the amount of chances that Tottenham created. Obviously Fulham are not don't have the same sort of attacking presence as Tottenham does, but if there's a guy I think this week who does potentially get on the board for Fulham, it's going to be Rodrigo Munoz. So I don't mind him, especially at, I believe it's $6 million of your $100 million budget. He's a pretty good value pick.
Yeah, if not just a backup if you need him. But I mean, he's very streaky too. So, if he gets rolling, he's a must start every week. And so, yeah, I completely agree with that. And I think that's a great pick there. Another guy you could think about is Mateta. Didn't have a great showing, but he's kind of like Muniz, who once he gets a goal or two, he's gonna roll for sure. Now
they're playing West Ham, who did not look amazing. Well, I mean, they looked okay at the back, but they didn't look great against Villa. So you can definitely expect some opportunities from him as well.
No, absolutely. It wouldn't be a show if we didn't have some picks for you. We ended up last season both over 500. So we're looking to do the same. And so I'll just go ahead with my picks. Leverkusen Gladbach over 3.5. I just think that's going to be free as air. Atletico,
it's a mandatory play.
It is a mandatory play. Atletico Madrid Girona over 3. Girona starting 2 center backs that are like 34 years old and 36 years old. Not only did Atletico Madrid score a bunch of goals, but they also gave up 2 to Villarreal. And so I still think that, Girona could, hurt them on the counterattack. So I'm just going to take the over 3 here and think this will be a fun game. I have a parlay as one of my straight plays. It's City -1.5, Liverpool moneyline, PSV moneyline, and Sporting moneyline. A little bit over even odds here. I think those are just the locks of the week there. Just
Standard.
all chalk combined. I just don't see any of those teams losing. And then 2 MLS plays. We'll see if
MLS Dan.
MLS is back. We'll see if MLS Dan's back. And I got the RSL over 3.5 and the Portland over 3.5. I think RSL plays San Jose, I believe. San Jose are terrible. RSL just have done not only really good this season, but they've signed good guys in the window. And then for Portland, they just score a lot of goals, and St. Louis has just been all over the place. Harrison, what are your picks?
Yeah, I got Brighton Pick'em against Man U. So at least for the draw, I push, but I like their chances at home. I'm taking Dominic Solanke to score. That just feels free to me. Chelsea money line.
Here we go again.
Here we go again. 100% a heart play, but also I kind of I just don't think that Chelsea honestly is going to be that bad this year. And Enzo Maresca, we haven't chatted about this. He is
Ruthless.
Ruthless and doing his best to silence the media because I guess all they want to talk about is the amount of players that we have in the squad. He's like,
well, no shit. That's all they want to
that's
talk
fair.
about.
But also he's like, we have 40 players, but I only train with 20 and the other guys are just on the side. So I geeked out about that a little bit. Pedro Neto revenge game. Give me Chelsea.
New 7.
Yeah. Oof. Raheem, goodbye, buddy. Newcastle on the road at plus money against Bournemouth. Just not that high on Bournemouth this year, and I feel like Newcastle could very well go 2-0. So I'll gladly take that. And I will also take a common theme from last year, Bochum overs and Leipzig overs. They play each other this weekend. So I'm going to gladly take the over 3.5 in both of their openers this weekend.
That's it. Now, one thing that I completely forgot to mention because I didn't write it down. Really sneaky signing that you can pick up on the waiver wire if you drafted, but a nice little guy who's going to be a striker and he's not going to cost almost anything at all. Dominic Solanke under Iraola had 20 goals plus last season. They signed Evan Nilsson from Porto, who's pretty good. You get one free transfer a week. You're going to probably spend 5 to 6.5 million for this guy. And, if he hits, then you're going to come out very much on top. And if he sucks, he's probably going to stay the value. So that's like a good sleeper pick. He probably won't feature this week. He might. But, that might be a little sleeper for you that I just thought of. But, Harrison, thank you again for joining. Listeners, hope you guys enjoyed this preview, bets, fantasy advice that we kind of gave out. And definitely let us know if you like it. And good luck this weekend on your bets, Harrison. Hope everyone enjoys the slate because it's a good one. And we'll be back next week.